now, but in the future with YPA. So, even though, everything starts small, and I understand that. So, I try not to get frustrated at not having a massive room and all this other stuff, but I do know that we're steadily getting there. And Mr. Hayes, I'm really just honored that you took time out of your day to be here. So thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know Mr. Hayes, let me just give you a brief background on him. He's from Winston-Salem, and he is actually running for mayor, which is pretty awesome. So he moved to Asheville in 1976 with his father, Mr. John R. Hayes, and he's a lifelong non-affiliated social activist, believes in the power is within the people, folks, and that's us. Like, we are that power. He resides in West Asheville with his wife and children. His wife is right here. Hello, his friend. Nice to meet you. And so he is a founder of executive director of Umoja Health, Wellness and Justice Collective, which is trauma-informed, resiliency-focused, culturally aligned, peer-led nonprofit organization. He served on various boards and committees in Asheville, including the Committee and Police Advisory Academy and the Hillcrest Resident Association and the Asheville Housing Resident Council. Gosh, it's a lot. I thought I was on nothing. But anyways, with that being said, Mr. Hayes is going to talk about the importance of being politically active. And I know that we have a smaller audience than what I anticipated, but that's okay, because I feel like we can make this more of a roundtable talk, more so than an actual speaking presentation. But still, please, let's get involved. And without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to Mr. Hayes, because I know he has some information for us.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that I am running for mayor. And I really feel that this is a important topic that we're going to talk about today. Let me see, how can we start this? Because it's not a big crowd, so I'm not going to pull out the notes and all that good stuff. But let me ask y'all a question, all right? One of the biggest movements that happened in our history was, of course, the Boston Tea Party. Everybody remember the Boston Tea Party, right? Yes. Now, I got to ask you a question. Why was the Boston Tea Party started?
Taxes.
Say it again.
Taxes.
Now, for most people, they're like, okay, taxes. Who was the rallying point for the Boston Tea Party?
Oh, wasn't it Crispus? Wasn't it?
At Tux.
Yes.
So it was bigger than that, actually.
Okay.
Because what had happened was the biggest tax and everything. It wasn't just the taxes. It was like, no, we want a corporate tax break. It wasn't just the taxes, because everybody came from, they came to America from a certain place, and at 12 noon, what time was it? It was tea time. It was tea time. So they made sure that the large tax was on the tea, right? So everything else was cool. So it wasn't just about them drinking the tea and taxing the tea. It was like, okay, nah, I think this is unfair, and we want a corporate tax for all businesses. Now, were all of them political before that happened? No. It was a couple of them that said, listen, you have a small business. Now, what we can do to affect change is say, okay, we're going to come together and we're going to speak out against this together. So the small businesses and all businesses got together and said, you know what, we support this. So it shows the involvement of business people being politically involved from the Boston Tea Party, and probably before them, but I want to start from the Boston Tea Party. Now, right now, if we look back at every president, there's been a business, there's been a political decision made based on business. Who did the New Deal?
FDR?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. That's what I like. All right. So you got FDR, the New Deal. Let's go back to our forefathers. The forefathers, the one who signed. All right. What was it? 13 of them. Mm-hmm. What do they all have in common?
They're all men.
That too. What else do they have in common?
I think they own land. They're all landowners.
They own businesses.
Yeah.
They own businesses. All right. So I'm just saying all that to say, like, throughout the succession of presidents, creating the Constitution, Emancipation Proclamation, all of that stuff, even leading up to now, Declaration of Independence, all that stuff, even leading up to President Trump. What did President Trump do for businesses that hadn't been done in a long time? Because I got some homeboys that voted for Trump and they love Trump.
Lower the corporate tax rate.
Say it again.
Lower the corporate tax rate.
And who did that benefit?
Large corporations.
Small business?
They did.
Oh.
Small businesses too.
Yeah.
Because I got some brothers that, boy, they came up on top with that break. So even if we look back from then, I might not agree with the politics, but because he saw what could happen if businesses got a break and they rallied for that, they lobbied for that. Then it made a change, it made a difference in the amount of money that was made and the come up for a lot of people. So now we're in today's politics. You know, today I'm running for mayor, all that good stuff. But I'm learning, like, okay, so what can we do for small businesses here or businesses here when it comes to politics? I went to a conference, not a conference, but a forum with, what is it, SIBO?
SIBO, Coalition of Independent Business Owners.
Y'all know about SIBO? Okay.
Oh.
Wow, I know, right?
Oh.
All right, so it's a group of people that actually they have enough people in this organization to give a large political push to who they choose for mayor. All right, so that's one company, SIBO. That's one organization, SIBO. A couple of weeks prior to that, we attended the Western North Carolina Black Business Association. It was a weekend conference that was so beautiful. It was so many businesses there that were a lot owned by people of color. And I bring that up because you had on this side at the Black Business Expo, you had a lot of people of color who own businesses at this expo that were not at SIBO, and vice versa. Those who are at SIBO, I bought at the Black Business Expo. I said, who all attended? And one hand went up, and that was a lady of color, right? It was a black lady, her hand went up. So I'm like, we all have businesses. We all want the same thing. That's to be able to make money from our business, right? Nothing wrong with making money. No, that's what you want business for, to make money your way and not check in with your boss. I know that's what I love about your Moses. I'm not checking in with anybody. I got to check in with my board, but it's things that we want, and that's how we have small business. So the importance of small business owners being politically involved, politically active. It's a few reasons. Number one, and I brought up those two organizations because I'm just thinking, like, what if that was a combination of those two different, a combination of that happening, then that means the voice becomes louder. That still means that some people gonna get to the table. There's gonna be some disagreements, you know what I mean? But in my opinion, we can have disagreements and not be divisive, not be divided, right? So we come to the table, everybody like puts out their issues, like this is what we want to see happen, this is what we want to see happen. And I'm gonna keep talking about these two entities because them coming together is powerful, right? But 9 times out of 10, that might not happen. Hopefully it will. But you still have an idea of what you want when you're talking about your business. And it can come with us. We just had a conversation about those who weren't being heard, got together and marched and rallied around some ideas that we had of what we wanted for our community. Business owners can do the same thing. And with looking at SIBO, for them having enough people and enough pool and enough financial backing to be able to back a candidate, it just made me recognize and open my eyes to the fact that once people who have small business get involved politically, then you get to lobby for who you want and they can go to the table with what you want. I can't remember the bill. There's a bill coming out. There's a bill being presented that is going to open up this opportunity for legalizing marijuana, right? Then they're going to pick like 10 people or 10 companies to actually start this thing off, right? Now, who are the best people to really move into this field of CBD or legalizing marijuana? Those who already have access to land who've been growing probably hemp for the longest time, right? Now, Brandy, when did Gene bring this to our attention? I'm gonna say about 5 years ago. Gene Edison was trying to get people together to buy a plot of land to start growing hemp. Now, we might have to go to Waynesville or somewhere outside of Asheville, but to start growing hemp. Now, those will be the first group of people that are looked at when this bill passes. Who do you think is lobbying for that bill to get passed?
Big companies.
Not really.
good.
It's some big companies doing it, but it's already the small business owners that already know they have this hemp, that have come together and backing a political idea with a certain political party. They choose a certain political candidate that's going to help them see that idea through. So I mean, common sense, like, yeah, you want to be politically active, but when you become politically involved and active as an organization, as a group, there's powers in number, man. And I say this all the time, power to the people, because the people are the power. When you have enough numbers to present yourself amongst the people, enough numbers, then the power grows even greater because you have numbers to lobby and to make your point heard. We were talking about the summer of George Floyd and how, we marched, and you'll see that my social activism, they said that I was the organizer of the march, but I wasn't. It was matter of fact, it was two young people. We talked about, the age discrepancies and those who get out and make things happen. The young people that started this, Bria and what's that one's other sister, Bria?
And Kiara.
Bria, Kiara, and GP Ready Red, who was also, he's the founder of the Juneteenth. Kiara, yeah, Juneteenth, who was he's the founder, him and a group organization from Hillcrest, that the founder of the Juneteenth celebration is going to be real big this year, doing Juneteenth. But they were the ones who organized it, and they are 30s, in their early 30s, late 20s, right? So they organized this march, they organized it, and what happened was we said, okay, this is what we need to happen. Now, this was small business owners, this was community members, but we saw the power of us coming together with a voice, being led by some young folks. I'll be 55 this month. So, I played my part, and my part was to bring other people to the table, right? But it was a movement that caught ground, and we understood that everybody won't see eye to eye. There's different political views, there's different personal views, but in order to sit to the table and reason together, that's when we saw that we can make more noise. Small business owners, I'm gonna keep bringing up SIBO and the people that were at the Black Business Expo, sitting at the same table to reason together can be a more powerful movement. But anybody that has a small business and you understand what you want from tax breaks to understanding what bills are coming down the line that might be influential to whatever business that I own, it is very important that we are tapped in politically. I'm gonna leave y'all with this one thing. There was in Wilmington, North Carolina, there was a Black Wall Street in Wilmington, North Carolina. There was a lot of things happening in Wilmington, North Carolina. There was a massacre that happened in Wilmington, North Carolina, because the Black businesses and the Black community members, because of the sex of the business, they all came together and they elected a few people to go to, I think it was a city council, might have been the Senate, but anyway, to political positions, right? And then the massacre happened. Who knows how the massacre happened? Because they had Black people going to the government. That had already happened before. Who knows how the massacre happened? The massacre happened because there was a certain group of small business that wanted to expand, so they put people in place to help them expand. The massacre happened because it's like, no, we're not going to allow that to happen. They ran the politicians out of town. They burned down the newspaper that one of the politicians owned. They burned down. So, and I'm saying this to say that it's important that there is a coming together of ideas and of certain different groups of people. Because if not, I know another massacre might not happen, but one group can end up destroying another group, and then it ends up killing because the businesses suffered for a long time after that massacre. They thought it was just going to be like make Wilmington big. Wilmington suffered in tourism. Wilmington suffered in money being made. They suffered for a couple of years. If there is not a cohesive unit of all small business coming together with, it don't have to be the same idea, but at least an idea of what we want to achieve or want to accomplish, then the same thing can happen again. So I'm here to just encourage you all to not only get out and vote, but get with other organizations, small business organizations that are creative small business organizations with y'all young energy and get out there, make it happen, but understand that you have a voice. And when you come together, power to the people out of power. When you come together as a group of people, your power becomes even greater. And utilize that for not only your success, because I'm sure you want to start a business, you're going to be able to pass down generation to generation to generation. Creating what? Generational wealth, right? That's what we all dream of. I got a 9, 8, 5-year-old at the house, And then I got boys that's between 35 and 26. I got 4 of them old suckers. But I gotta make sure I leave them with something, my grandkids with something, right? So on doing that, I cannot do it by myself. Us as small business owners, we have to create something that's gonna be substantial and sustainable. And politically involved has to be the way we do it. Okay, I'm sweating, man. It's hot up here. Yeah, you can clap. Do we have any questions? Yes.
Yeah, so what are you and your campaign specifically doing to inspire a culture of connectedness in what seems to be an overall divisive state? And I mean state as in United States, it's very divided. And, you know, as we were speaking before, you know, a lot of that's driven by, you know, publications and the influence there. But what are you and your campaign specifically doing to drive a culture of connectedness within this community?
Thank you for asking that. Our key goal is to be transparent, transparency and accountability for a resilient community. That means we have to involve the people in every process of everything that we do. Me becoming mayor means it's going to be more participatory action with everything that we do, participatory budgeting, no closed door meetings. I don't care if we meet to have coffee and sandwiches, we're going to invite the public in. That's one thing. Second, there has been a lot of people that have been hurt by the actions of the government of Asheville for a very long time. I do healing work. You read my company. Trauma-informed resiliency focused work. The first step for anybody healing, and they do this in AA, NA, is to admit there was a problem. The city of Asheville has to admit that there was a problem. And after you admit there was a problem, I think one of the steps is to, like, you got to make amends with the people that you hurt. Like, you got to let people, man, when I become mayor, notice I said when, I don't care if it won't be just 2 days out the month and we have that end of the meeting where we have the open agenda and everybody get to talk. No, we're going to have some meetings where people get to come up and talk about what they need to talk about. I don't care if it's 6 days out the week. I don't care if it's 6 days out the week for 6 months. That's going to take 6 hours during the day. Healing has to start, right? Let people come up and express what they've been going through, because the healing starts when people actually feel like they've been heard, right? We got communities, groups of people who have never been heard. So give them an opportunity. Explain to them. That's why I say transparency and accountability. Yes, be held accountable for things that's happened, but be transparent about what's going on right now. You got people that's living in Livable right now that's worried that once Livable is torn down and rebuilt, first they're going to worry about where they're going to live while that's happening. Second, they're worried about, okay, do I still get to come back over to the same place that I live with the same neighbors that I've grown up with for the past 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, 20 years? Am I still gonna have that opportunity? Because regardless of what they say about Livable, it's still a community, right? So you have community members worried. So why can't they know the whole plan? Because if you look at Asheville, Mountainside Apartments, that's now something else. Lee Walker Heights Apartments is now something else. Those were majority Black communities that the apartments were torn down and people were displaced. So then you have this opportunity to bring them back and they don't get the opportunity to come back. That's why I say you have to be held accountable. You have to be transparent. Then you have to give people opportunity to heal. Why wasn't I allowed to come back? Let them voice that, right? Now, for small businesses, I think one of the biggest things we have to look at is, we always talk about not just affordable housing, but a livable wage, right? Let's talk a livable wage. Okay, it's me, my wife, 3 children. We don't own a house, we still rent a house. Our rent is crazy, right? But I make a decent salary, she makes a decent salary. And by that, we might be able to meet the median when it comes to affordable living, to affordable housing. We might. But when you look at real affordable housing, right, and you look at the livable wage cannot be, I mean, we say it's like $17.75, right? That's $17.75 for one person. That's not $17.75 with a family and food to buy and gas to put in the car, you know, or even just the bus. So we have to look at what that looks like. So per se, if the livable wage, we up that to, like, let's say 19. We'll just say 19 for a single person, right? Now, you're a small business owner, right? So you are expanding and you need to hire. It's you know, your family members been working for the low. So now you want to expand, so you got to hire some people, right? But you know that with the money that you're a small business owner, you don't have enough. You got enough to pay them maybe $15 an hour, right? What if the city of Asheville said, you know what? We want to give you an opportunity to help subsidize, that we can help subsidize your business. How can we do that? It's simple. There's a certain amount of goals that we want to see if your business qualified for. Are you a historically underused business? Are you a minority-owned business? How long your business been in? You know, so what can we do? What can the city of Asheville put to the side to help subsidize those businesses so that you pay the 15, but they need a livable wage, they need 19. We'll subsidize the other $4 per hour for you so that employee can make $19 an hour if you meet these certain criteria. Shouldn't be hard. You know, historical underused businesses, y'all know what historical underused businesses are? They're mainly businesses who do a lot of contracting with city, county, different things like that, and they have a list. So if somebody comes in per se and wants to make a bid on cutting the grass for city for city developments and city-owned properties, right? They have to look at historically underused businesses first before they look at anybody else, right? So there's a lot of other things that are beneficial by becoming historically underused business, but it's also for us to, like, it's a check box to say, okay, look, you qualify for this, you don't make enough money to make sure you can pay that employee. You want to make sure that they make a livable wage. But how can the city really do that when the city doesn't even pay their some of their own workers livable wages, right? So first you have to change that to be able to change some other things. But how does that happen? Small businesses coming together with the idea that we have to get out and vote, and you put people in office that can try to make those things happen. But like I said, the first thing is about a healing. It's us being unable to agree, but still being able to sit at the table and reason together. That comes by an example. An example is like if the mayor feels that, okay, oh, it's getting too hot in here and I can't pull out my towel and wipe my head off, but I'm just gonna shut everything down. It's not the person you want as mayor. You want somebody that's gonna sit there, that's gonna take the heat, even though you might be coming after somebody that started everything that you're complaining about. You still have to sit there and we have to reason together. We have to give people an opportunity to feel like they've been heard.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I appreciate your mentioning of recovery programs. I work very heavily in that community, and it's just such a lifesaver.
Yes.
So in regards to livable wage, completely understand that. But I've been trying online to find information on what is your viewpoints regarding equitable housing. And what measures are you going to put in place, like some other cities, specifically in Seattle and the West Coast, they've put in specific measures to prevent venture capitalists and companies from coming up and purchasing houses and jacking up the rental rates.
Right.
What are some measures that you and your team would put in place should you be elected mayor?
Okay, so the first thing we have to look at is not only Airbnbs, not only trying to get with other mayors and other political parties and other people who are in political places to how do we address the TDA money and how it's dispersed? How do we address how much of that money, we could possibly use to help the equity when we're talking about equitable business, equitable housing, the whole nine. But when we look at Asheville alone, though, first of all, we have to look back at urban renewal and give back to those who we took land from. I don't know if y'all know this. Do y'all know the River Arts District was once a Black community? Do y'all know Eagle Market Street was where Black businesses thrive? And not just that little L area that's there, like the whole, even on the side of Charlotte Street. So it's really looking back and just seeing what's out there. We have a urban renewal land that's on Ashland Avenue, and they almost made the mistake of selling that. And I love Haywood Congregation. I love what they do, but they almost sold that to Haywood Congregation. And
what does that mean, urban renewal?
Urban removal. When they gentrified a lot of the spaces, they moved people out, gave them way under what the house was worth, or gave them nothing. Some buildings they actually condemned and said, okay, no, can't live there no more, and didn't pay for it, just moved people out, and then they took the land over. When they took the land over, they resold the land to white companies. And a lot of that was hidden. Transparency and accountability. A lot of that wasn't known. I have to do some research on this, but the new Grant Center that's right there on the corner of Depot and Livingston Street, the Grant Center was urban renewal land. When they talked about the opening of it, they never said it was urban renewal land, but there's land that has been taken through, they call it legal means, but yeah. So Yeah, that needs to be taken back. So, and if we get that land back, then it gives us an opportunity to build out equitable housing, help businesses to thrive, because we'll be in those places where tourism is active, where all those things that are happening, but we just don't have the land. We have to get access to the land. There's a what's the Catherine Mitchell? She is on the African American Heritage Commission. She has a church. They actually bought a church. It's one of the oldest churches, but in her, and that's, she's building a hub of like great ideas, but she has maps set up of all the all the land that got stolen during urban renewal. She has a map of all those places, and I think it's important that, and this what I'm saying this because when we think equitable housing and equitable landing, equitable businesses, a lot of people think we're just saying this because we want, just one certain community to thrive. But if you think about it, if the white community thrives and black community thrives and business thrive and equitable living and equitable wages, then that means the whole city thrives. We keep looking at this as like it's one against the other. No, it's all of us should be in this thing together, thriving together. So I hope that answered the question.
We do have a bit on the website regarding affordable housing in general, and so the goal would be, to ensure that is the general goal, is to have programs where there are policies made in order to provide equitable housing. But a lot of it is the healing part first. There are issues that need to be addressed before we can even work to get to those like broader, more larger city policies that do make the news.
And the biggest thing about that is, the one thing I did forget is, I'm not gonna just sit up and make a decision. I'm opening the doors up so that the experts are those who are going through unequitable living. The experts are those who are persons who are unhoused. The experts are those who have business that are like not thriving like they want to. Those are the experts. I'm just here to listen to the experts, and then we all come to a decision together. That's what participatory practices are, bringing everybody in to participate in the steps that it has to take. I'm not going in with an agenda saying, okay, boom, let's make this. I'm going in with a platform, but my agenda is about bringing the people in so that we all come to a conclusion of what we want to do. The democratic way. I'm not an affiliate, but I'm just saying. The democratic way, like we do this thing together. Yes.
The Petty Pendulum in me is wanting to ask the question of like, so what would you be proposing to do revenue wise to be able to support that additional outlay of capital?
First is putting everything on hold, man. We gotta stop selling so much first. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we have available and see what we can make available. But once again, it doesn't just come from a decision that I make. It's like, okay, with the city council, with everybody's together, who can we bring to the table? Let's open the doors up so we can try to make some decisions about what's what. But the only way we can do that's like everybody understanding what's going on. Like, where is the money going? Or what money has been put up? What money is in the rainy day kitty? Like those type things. I do know that there is I think it was Miss Mosley, Councilwoman Mosley. There's like 100,000 or close. Like there's businesses that have to put into a kitty for either reparations or affordable housing, and for either way it goes, it's still like money. So I think it's probably $1 million that's already like in that kitty. So those type ideas that come from everybody thinking together. Those are things that we can look at and try to figure out how we can make this thing work and where the money can come from. But I think first thing we got to do is like take a hold up, stop selling everything. Because I think we ended up selling, like for me, it's urban land that it's not really theirs to sell like that if we go back and look at the history.
So I'm curious, just as a follow-up, I hear what a lot of you're saying is the healing. And what I know from my business and just psychologically people and working in healing communities, that takes a lot of infrastructure, particularly for a large population that's in Asheville and people are coming in. How can you sustain having enough people to hear all of these opinions? And then what kind of infrastructure from a team perspective are you going to put in place to keep, action lists, feedback. I mean, if you're receiving all this feedback, you have to get it into a concise way that results in actionable items for the community. That sounds like it's going to take a lot of people. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about the infrastructure that you plan on putting in place in order to get all of this information and then take action on it.
Okay, is this a good time for me to be answering this? Because I don't want to go over time. Okay, so in our communities that I serve, and it's a lot of people, there's an idea that we have to. There's been an idea that you have to come in and say, okay, this is what we're going to give you as your community. That's me coming in to a small business and say, okay, look, this is what I'm going to give you guys as small business owners, right? And y'all going to look at me like, you already got something planned. Like, we don't really need what you're bringing, right? Because probably amongst y'all, you got somebody that has ideas, somebody that has, different skill sets, right? In communities that have been traumatized by the government, there are already people in the neighborhood doing the work. They just don't get the recognition. So the creation of community healing, a whole different way of doing public safety is how we're looking at this. There's already companies that are doing healing work that are not companies, individuals doing healing works that are now getting certifications that can actually, start this process of, because I do community healing in these neighborhoods, that are starting this process of having people talk about some things they've been through. This has been going on for a while, so we're talking like it's going to be like the whole city coming out talking about this. Then the infrastructure will get built, how it needs to get built, and what it's going to take is people understanding what healing looks like. It's not going to look the same for you as it looks for me, because we might not have the same things that we're healing from. So it takes people from the community to be in the community to give people this opportunity to have conversations. Then we all come together as a city and we go through the certain things that people want. Is that going to take a long time? It might not, but we don't know, because the opportunity has never been had for people to actually come up and heal. Yes, you have city council members or city officials that can come to certain places and they say, okay, listen, we want to hear what's going on. Just like with the George Floyd incident, just the summer of George Floyd, we already knew what we wanted. Now that got, it got kind of shady when other people came in and put their 2 cents in, but it was still, we had what we wanted. It was presented on paper. The same thing can be done when we're talking about building infrastructure. Just have people in place. Is that going to look like me trying to set everybody in place? No. What that does look like is us, like I always say, it's a participatory. It's participatory. It's everybody coming together. It's everybody laying their stuff on the table. And how do we build infrastructure? That's what we start off with from the beginning. We find out how we do that. I'm not going to say I have all the answers right now. I'm not even going to sit up here in front like I know everything that's going to happen right now. But I do know that the people got to be involved. And there's already people involved doing this type of work.
For people who are like starting businesses, what should they start focusing on as far as policies and things that are currently happening here in Asheville? Or for people who are not starting businesses, because it tends to be, if you're not starting a business, if you're starting a business, you get a certain amount of tax breaks. But if you're not, you're just an employee, you're going to end up paying those taxes. Right. And so for the people who are not involved or not interested in starting a business, what policies should they kind of know here in Asheville? And then for people who are starting businesses, what should they be involved in so that they can go ahead and kind of have a voice for some of these things?
So people that are starting business, a lot of great organizations. I have Jeremiah Robinson. He's with Mountain Business Works. Jeremiah started a program right now to help, particularly Black businesses that can start opening up these businesses through the Catalyst program. Great program. Mountain Business Works was, in my opinion, worked great for a lot of people. I went through it twice. I saw a lot of business start there. They got a lot of information, infrastructure, how to build that, and also how to, policies and things like that when you start your business. It wasn't for everybody, and I think that's why Jeremiah came in with his program. Then there's places like Black Wall Street with Jay Hackett, the Noah Collective with Alexander Ravenel, where collectively they're coming together, giving people spaces, ideas, and connections and resources to make those businesses thrive. Now, as far as for those who don't want to run a business, what you mean, like those who just want to be employed?
Yes, those just, okay. Some people, not everybody's interested in running and being an entrepreneur and running a business. But at the same time, they should probably know what type of policies are out there in the Asheville area that are affecting them. So how do they get involved if they're not interested in, just running a business and getting involved with the tax? Because those are the people who are making these type of decisions.
Do what we're doing right now, have conversations with those, number one, who are, you don't have to be a business owner to understand like what you want. If you're working in a hotel and they're only paying you $12 an hour, and the hotel is tied to the tourism business, and the tourism business is making a lot of money, then you need to like maybe organize with some people at the hotel and go demand what you're asking for, right? There's one thing that Asheville cannot deny. They can't deny that tourism has slowed down, because it hasn't. Not even during COVID, tourism has slowed down a lot, right? So with that being said, it's important that you get involved, but it's also important to know, who, when you're looking at who you want to select for a candidate for whatever political office, do their ideas match with what I want? Can they support me if I say, yo, I want to start a union here, right? Because we're not getting the movement, we're not getting the money that we deserve. Will they support me on this? And there are a lot of different organizations that help with that. So I'm making connections, but business owners, and there are more business owners, we were talking about this at Black Wall Street there are business owners that's right now that's standing like the housing developments or a Section 8 housing that can't have a business out of their own house because they are renting and they don't allow it. How many people doing hair and making candles and whatnot, but they can't become a legitimate business because they don't allow it in their places. So how do we find space? That's a place like the Renewal Collective, Black Wall Street, the Health, Wellness, and Justice Collective. We give people opportunities to start doing the start, but we also connect those from returning citizens from incarceration, substance misuse, those who are unhoused. We help connect them with jobs, and we help connect them with jobs. We make sure that we go in and we advocate that they're not getting paid $12 an hour when we know they need $19 to really survive. So we go and ask them, but that's all about getting with certain groups and certain people to ask what you want.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Networking.
Yeah.
Hardcore
Which
networking.
One
look
more
like
thing.
for the 19th social we got going on, it's going to be a purposeful networking event.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we do have a networking event for that coming out
Okay.
soon on the 19th, right?
In May.
May 19th over at Flood Ribbon Winery. So
Okay.
you're practicing that folks' networking skills on over there.
That'll work. Definitely let us spread the word. Make sure I get the information.
Yes.
I just have one more thing. I know, no surprise here. So one of the things you just mentioned that I'm very passionate about is hiring from marginalized communities, such as people who've been incarcerated, people who've had drug charges, things like that. One of the things as I'm speaking to people in those marginalized populations is that there's some companies around town that are paying $22 an hour or whatever, and they're leading with the wage, which is fine. But when you're actually going in and talking to people, I'm finding that they still don't feel like they have a voice, that they feel like they're oppressed because they are in such fear of losing this $22 an hour job.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you, and how have you been educating business owners on decorum and a culture of connectivity and how to empower those marginalized, often traumatized identities to have the willingness to be open and honest and rigorously honest with them? Because it's not enough for me to hire from a marginalized population and pay $22 an hour. What is important to me is that those business leaders understand who they're hiring and their needs, and that they are different, and that they are scared and come from fear and scarcity mindset. So how would you educate business leaders who are hiring from those populations to really support the people coming from those marginalized populations?
So this is not me as a mayor, as running for mayor. This is the work that I do. And we do, when we say marginalized, we do this now. We don't really use that term a lot anymore because it tends to separate. And when it separates, then that's why some people can go and scare. First of all, when we get those who are coming from population of the unhoused or populations of those who had substance misuse issues, we or populations from those who are returning citizens, we take them under our wing first of all, and we teach them to advocate for themselves, because a lot of healing has to start from them as well, from them understanding what social and emotional intelligence looks like, right? Knowing how to speak up for themselves in a way that's not combative, but in a way that's like, so first it starts with the person. Now we make sure that when we go in and we make these connections with companies, there's like people like myself, Philip Cooper, Tony Shivers, like we've had these conversations with company owners, and we've been doing this work for a long time. Tony Shivers with Goodwill, myself with Green Opportunities, Philip with AB Tech. So we've developed these opportunities to connect through workforce development and getting with companies. The first thing we talk about is never about the wage. Nah. The first thing we talk about is like, how do you treat your people?
Right.
Then they give us access to talk to their people. Then we talk about, okay, what is this wage going to look like? Because there has to be an understanding. And yes, they see people like me as a returning citizen, people like Philip as a returning citizen, right? We've all done some time. So when we go in, we don't go in from a lens of like, we haven't been there. We go in from a lens that we've been there. And the people that we work with understand that as well. So they understand like, okay, I can't advocate for myself, but first of all, there's some things that we go through. We go through the trauma and resiliency and being focused on that, on the resiliency part. We go through social and emotional intelligence so they know. But advocating doesn't mean I'm just, okay, I'm gonna take you up to this place, man, because they're hiring. No, we started networking like way before we started serving the people. So they understand who we're bringing to the table. Now, does that have a direct effect on how they're gonna treat the employee? No, but the employee can have a direct effect on how they treat them when they go in understanding that I have my own voice, I have my own authentic voice, and I can advocate for myself when the opportunity arises. So, and that's, I never say that we empower somebody with it because they already own the power. We advocate and we make them aware of like, okay, this is what can happen. So those connections have been happening from networking for a very long time.
Great.
And that's how we're able to do the work that we do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Maybe I shouldn't speak, but I'm going to. He used to do some work with Eastwood Pottery.
Yep, Eastwood Pottery, one of our still one of our main partners that we send people to. Matter of fact, great success rate with them. Yes, there's a lot of different companies that we've been like really fostering connection with for a long time. Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's cool.
Yeah.
I will never tell you can't speak. I know better than
No, writing is more important
Right,
part.
right. We'll never say that.
We
Please
cannot.
Yeah, and so and I'm glad she did say that
Just the work
because
that happened there and the connection that he made with the employee and the owner. And if that employee needed something or advice from Michael, he would come to him, and it was a powerful thing.
and now we have those who have been through that experience. Now they're in community, they're at their jobs, and now they get to advocate for the other people that come in after that. So it's not us continuously doing the work. But even with that fostering connection, we have the community paramedic team. We got a team of peer support specialists. So when I work with them, we got a community. We have a team that's going to be working with Asheville Housing Authority doing trauma-informed, resiliency-focused security work at a couple of their facilities and their, developments. So, and those are coming from people who have substance use lived experience, returning citizen lived experience, those who've been in house lived experience. So those who have come from those communities and survived from the trauma they've been through that are now back in those communities giving. So that's why I say, like, we're talking about building this infrastructure for those to be able to start this healing process. It's already in work. It's been in the mix for a long time. We just hadn't utilized it the way that it can be utilized now when we're talking about a new way of doing things. Yeah.
Well, give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Hope this is all informative for everyone. I know it was for me. And so normally we do door prizes, but I'm gonna do things a little bit different because I do have some door prizes. So I'm gonna allow y'all to choose your door prizes as you leave because I feel like, I don't know, y'all showed up today, you showed up for yourselves. I always say this, like, you're in the right room and the rooms that you're in are just as important as the rooms that you're not in. So everybody had an opportunity to be here. Everybody had the same excuse to not be here, right? But you showed up. So that shows your own power within yourself. Like Mr. Hayes says, it's not about acknowledging or owning. It's not about empowering. You already have the power. It's just about using it. So go ahead and grab yourself a gift, grab yourself some things as you head out. Please connect with Mr. Hayes. And even if, maybe politically he may not align with some of the things that you want for yourself, the importance of today was to get politically involved. YPA is, I've said this multiple times, the reason YPA exists is because we are the future and the change that we want to see in the world. Okay. So with that being said, you know, if you're not going to be politically involved with Mr. Hayes, or maybe again, he doesn't align with what you're doing, the importance is to do something and not do nothing, because he who says nothing is probably going to get what he did. That's a new phrase. I don't know how to use that. But with that being said, folks, it is 9:30, so I don't want to hold y'all up any longer. I know people have things to do, but feel free to network. And thank you all our sponsors. John, I know you know all the sponsors, but they know who they are. We'll mention Western because I know they're a big one. Big Cookie and all that other stuff. But anyways, thank you guys, and we'll see y'all hopefully next month. So yeah.
Or a social.
Oh yes, for our social next week.
Thursday, the 19th at Winery.
There you go.